The break. You've seen a lot of them recently. I know I have too. These political attack ads that are airing right now, and we want to make sure that you have all the facts. That's why we have our Ryan Kruger in studio tonight. Ryan.
That's right, Shari. I dug through some of those facts and those attack ads. Hey, you might even see some during the commercial break. Well, after the break, I am separating the facts from the fiction in those ads.
We're tracking strong thunderstorms right now in parts of Lee County as well as northern Collier. I'm tracking them live and pinpointing when more wet weather could impact weekend plans next.
It's clearly election season, meaning you're seeing more and more political ads. And as part of our election coverage, Fox 4 Investigates will be truth testing many of those ads to give you the facts, something we call here Truth Be Told. Investigative journalist Ryan Kruger starts our ongoing series with Senator Marco Rubio's campaign claim that Congresswoman Val Demings has turned her back on law enforcement.
I'm Marco Rubio, and I approved this message.
The ad against Orlando Democratic Congresswoman Val Demings attacks her stances on law enforcement. The first claim.
Demings votes with Pelosi 100% of the time.
100%.
That's true, according to the vote tracker ProPublica. Demings and House Speaker Nancy Pelosi voted together 100% of the time in 2019 and 2020. But the claim also needs some clarification because it's missing important context. As Speaker, Pelosi only votes on certain bills and did not take part in 91% of the votes during that session.
She called abolishing the police thoughtful.
That is false. The quote comes from a June 2020 CBS This Morning interview, soon after George Floyd was killed. Demings was asked about a Minneapolis City Council proposal that would have dismantled and replaced the police department with a new public safety department. She never encouraged defunding the police. Here's what she said in full.
Desperately needs to be changed. I also believe that the council is being very thoughtful in terms of looking at all of the services that police provide.
Demings said violent riots were a beautiful sight.
Here's another false claim. Demings was taking part in a forum to discuss former President Donald Trump's travel ban to the U.S. from 7 Muslim-majority countries. The former police chief mentioned protests around the country. She never condoned violence.
What concerns me is that the strain that has been placed on local government, particularly law enforcement, local law enforcement, dealing with an order that is unjust and improper. And so as we encourage our young people to get involved, I thought it was a beautiful sight.
Demings did specifically mention UC Berkeley campus protests, and while violence did break out that night, the New York Times reported the next day that the protest was mostly peaceful until, quote, a group clad in black clothing and carrying sticks infiltrated the crowd and caused violence.
Maybe she used to be a cop,
But in Washington, Val Demings is just another radical rubber stamp.
The ad also tries to portray Demings as having turned her back on law enforcement. However, congressional tracker GovTrack says 1/4 of the bills that Demings has sponsored in Congress deal with crime and law enforcement.
And coming up in our next Truth Be Told segment, which is tomorrow night on Fox 4 News at 6, we're going to stick with the Senate race, where the two candidates have now released positive campaign ads highlighting what they say are their achievements. We're going to put them both to the test. Ryan Kruger, Fox 4 Investigates.
The governor's race here in Florida is breaking fundraising records, but are the campaign ads passing the truth test? In our ongoing series, Truth Be Told, Fox 4 Investigates is looking at all the major campaign ads that you see every day on TV. Tonight, Fox 4 investigative reporter Ryan Kruger takes a look at an ad from the Republican Party of Florida attacking Democratic nominee Charlie Crist.
Charlie Crist thinks Joe Biden is the best president of his lifetime.
Thank God for Joe Biden.
The ad from the Republican Party of Florida tries to tie former Republican governor and Democratic Congressman Charlie Crist to President Joe Biden. Let's start with this claim.
Crist votes with Biden 100% of the time.
That's true, according to a congressional analysis by the website 538.com. It's important to point out that same website shows many Democrats in Congress vote with the president 100% of the time. And for more perspective, during the Trump administration, we saw similar numbers of Republican lawmakers voting with the president.
Chris teamed up with Biden to hire 87,000 new IRS agents to audit the middle class.
This claim is misleading, bordering on being false. Chris did vote for the Inflation Reduction Act, which does include nearly $80 million to the IRS. However, that 87,000 agents claim is false. The number comes from a 2021 IRS report, which says the money from Congress would help the agency hire nearly 87,000 new employees by 2031. The report says the money would go toward, quote, hiring new specialized enforcement staff, modernizing antiquated information technology, and investing in meaningful taxpayer service. The report also says enforcement would only go against those with the highest incomes, $400,000 a year and above. Certainly not the middle class like the ad claims.
Chris even supported Biden's agenda to defund the police.
It's reallocation.
That claim is false. The ad claims Biden's September 2021 statement on police reform negotiation is advocating defunding the police. Here's the full statement. You'll notice defunding the police is not mentioned once. Instead, it advocates for passage for the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act, which also does not call for defunding the police, but instead calls for, among other things, a ban on no-knock warrants, a federal registry of police misconduct complaints, and a requirement that federal uniformed police officers have body-worn cameras. That bill passed the House, but it died in the Senate.
And that ad also begins with a claim that Chris called President Biden the best president of his lifetime. That's not entirely true. In the interview cited by the ad, Chris says that President Biden will go down as one of the best presidents we've ever had, especially, he says, when you contrast the Biden administration with the Trump administration. Ryan Kruger, Fox 4 Investigates.
Chief Val Demings.
An impressive history of public service.
Marco Rubio really helped a lot of people.
A turn to the positive side for both Senator Marco Rubio and Congresswoman Val Demings. In the Demings ad, which refers to her as Chief Demings, it highlights her 27 years with the Orlando Police Department and the last 4 as chief.
Under her leadership,
crime is down 40%.
That's not exactly true, but it is close. To check this, I pulled reports from the FBI's annual crime reports. They showed in 2007, Demings' first year as police chief, there were 4,269 violent crimes. By 2011, her last year in office, there were 2,591 reports of violent crimes. That is a 39.3% drop in violent crimes. By 2012, the crime rate had dropped more than 40%. That's the only fact laid out in the ad, but it does end with this.
In the Senate, I'll protect Florida from bad ideas, like defunding the police. That's just crazy.
Defunding the police is a claim the Rubio campaign has tried to tie to Demings in their previous ads.
She called abolishing the police thoughtful.
Our previous truth test found that to be false. The quote comes from a June 2020 CBS This Morning interview soon after George Floyd was killed. She was asked about a proposal in front of the Minneapolis City Council that would have dismantled and replaced the police department with a new public safety department. She never encouraged defunding the police.
When COVID hit, it was a very scary thing.
Rubio's newest ad shows 3 food service workers talking about the Paycheck Protection Program, a rescue measure that allowed small businesses to borrow forgivable loans to keep workers on the payroll, which Rubio co-sponsored in the early days of the pandemic.
So when our boss came to us about the PPP program, Senator Rubio was going to help us. We were all very excited.
The ad claims that PPP saved up to 13 million American jobs. That's true, according to 2 economists with the Federal Reserve who estimated just under 13 million jobs were saved, though we should point out other economists have estimated other figures.
And Demings voted for all COVID rescue bills that included PPP loans. Meanwhile, Rubio voted against the president's $1.9 trillion coronavirus aid bill that also included additional small business loans. Now, at the time, Rubio claimed he supported additional relief for small businesses, but he called that bill, quote, a Trojan horse to begin a radical restructuring of the nation. Ryan Kruger, Fox 4 investigates.
If you're fed up every time you fill up.
In an election year where many Republicans are attacking Democrats for rising inflation, the Crist campaign is out with a new ad blaming inflation and high insurance rates on the governor.
Doing nothing to lower costs for you.
That claim is false. While inflation remains high, it's not true that Governor DeSantis has done, quote, nothing to lower costs, as the Crist ad claims. In May, Governor DeSantis signed what he called the largest tax relief package in Florida history, which includes 10 tax holidays that he claims will save Floridians $1.2 billion. Crist specifically, though, mentions the state's property insurance crisis.
Force property insurance companies to lower rates.
Since April of last year, 10 different insurance companies in the state have become insolvent, driving up costs for homeowners. In May, the governor called a special legislative session to address business and homeowner needs. Lawmakers made a series of changes, including trying to address roof damage claims that insurers blame for the increase in costs. The ad doesn't specifically mention how Crist plans to lower insurance rates.
Passing an abortion ban with no exception for rape or incest.
Not exactly. DeSantis signed a ban on abortions after 15 weeks of pregnancy without exceptions for rape, incest, or human trafficking. The thing is, the vast majority of abortions nationwide are performed before 13 weeks, according to the CDC. So the move is more symbolic and doesn't really impact current systems.
Here's my plan.
Crist has told Fox 4 Investigates that on the first day his administration, he would sign an executive order protecting abortion rights, and he goes one step further in the ad.
Veto any bill that threatens a woman's right to choose.
Crist ends the ad with another promise and another false claim.
And cut the gas tax. DeSantis won't do it, but I will.
This claim is false. DeSantis has signed a roughly 25 cents a gallon tax break for the entire month of October, meaning Florida drivers will be saving an estimated $200 million in the weeks leading up to Election Day.